Spin it. This is great.
We're going to... wherever Micronesia is.
Yes, that's the one I wanted. Well done.
Right, well, we've taken a few weeks to do some research and to, move studio.
We have moved studio, and in that time, while you were all putting this together, I looked up where Micronesia is.
Where is it, Michael?
It is, if you've got Australia, you're looking at it on a map, northeast above Papua New Guinea in the ocean. And it is micro.
It's in the Western Pacific, about 2,500 miles south of Hawaii.
He has done his homework.
That's what I said.
Would you like to know what you're cooking?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So we are cooking a dish called utar.
Okay. How are you spelling that?
U-T-E-R.
None the wiser.
Utar.
You've given us some
should we bring this
familiar
over?
ingredients and some less familiar.
What have we got?
Lovely bunch of coconuts.
You've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
Some banana leaf, what looks like brown sugar. That's definitely sugar because it's shiny, and coconut milk.
So I have to say, about halfway through the A to Z series, 4 years, 2 studios in, this is probably the most simple recipe that we've tackled yet.
Oh, great.
And yet it does use ingredients that we're probably familiar with, but I don't think we've ever cooked with.
What is it?
It's a root. And is it taro?
It's taro!
Well done, chef.
So taro has been cultivated in these Pacific regions for thousands of years. It's often associated with fertility and the land, and it's actually a symbol of generosity in Micronesia.
I don't think we need that in this studio.
Fertility?
Between the three of you, you've got 5 kids. All is good.
So for you at home, here is a picture of utar. This is what the guys are going to be aiming for. And step 1 is to prepare your taro.
Is it a bit like a yam cassava thing? Are we boiling it? Are we frying it? Are we mashing it? We're
just preparing it now.
Crisping.
Preparing it. You're going to be great. There you go.
I mean, obviously peeling.
Peeling, right. Oh,
But probably with a knife because it's more than a peeler's worth, right?
Okay.
Is this toxic?
Probably if you don't cook it.
Yeah, is this the one that you're not supposed to prepare with bare hands? I don't know. I mean, you've done the research.
You've done the research. Well, great.
Done some research.
I know, like many things, they're toxic before you cook them, you can't eat them. But my understanding is it was an irritant.
It really worries me that you have a set of latex gloves in your back pocket at all times. Are we going to need all of the taro?
And is it like a slaw or a mash, or like one portion on a plate we need, or are we making enough to bind or pack or fill?
So glad you asked. We're making multiple of utar.
Great, but given we don't know whether they're melon-sized or golf ball sized.
Well, let's see if this helps. So Micronesia, or officially the Federated States of Micronesia, is made up of over 600 different islands. Utar is a dish that is really popular in the states of Chuuk and Pohnpei. Possibly pronounced slightly differently, but you know, we'll see.
We're trying our best.
Yep. It can be served plain or with a variety of toppings. And the modern version does include sugar, but that may have been less common in the past. And there are savoury versions that exist as well.
I'm going to crack this open and see what we're working with
See if
here,
it gives us a clue. Is it like a...
Smells like coffee. It's got a really...
Oh, that is like a...
bitter... It's sweet and bitter. It's almost like burnt caramelly profile. Malty. It's almost malty.
Toasted.
What is that? It's fantastic.
Grated, like ground, natural starches and sugars that makes it malty. Given these are the only ingredients we've been given, I think we end up with a paste made from coconut milk. These two things, we now know sugar is a more recent addition, and chunks, possibly very small chunks.
Of that and, yeah.
Which means it could therefore be just grated.
Yeah, what, and then steam it all together and
Like
just
a patty, like a cake, like a...
Yeah, like a macaroon, but not. That's grated and coconut and like mush.
No coconut and macaroon.
Macaroon, not... Oh.
Oh.
No eggs. Oh, hang on.
Well, boys, I think you've touched on how best to prepare a root vegetable.
Which is what this is. We told you that.
I'd agree with you. Let's get it into some boiling water.
In which case, I'm also going to cut it up smaller so it cooks quicker. Boil it up. Therefore, we mash it and bind it with the other stuff to make like a paste and a dough, maybe. Standard practice, if it's grown under the ground, start from cold water. Why did you boil a kettle? I just kind of went with it,
yeah,
but I feel
root.
like it should have been cold water, really.
Well, it depends what kind of root, right?
What, the root that...
Onions have a root.
And we'll definitely salt it. I mean, you definitely speed up the cooking process if you start from boiling, but you run the risk of having overcooked fluffy edges before the core is cooked. We don't know how we're going to use it yet, so I'm sure that'll be fine.
So some staple foods in Micronesia: coconut, taro, yams, breadfruit, bananas, citrus fruits, as well as seafood.
A lot of fish, I imagine.
Pork is used as an occasional meat, with chicken sometimes being reserved for special occasions.
I've done two
So
things.
two things, and they're
You're
both wrong.
Idiot.
I am just thrown off by this new place. Everything's backwards.
You're allowed to take your cap off now you're inside.
I can't. The hair's bad today.
One thing that's always really useful in these A to Z and trying to pinpoint the basic knowledge we have, and then more specifically the guessing game we play, what language and or religion would be prominent there, because that will depict a lot of the eating habits and dietary requirements around the influences that exist in their cuisine.
A lot of English-speaking language in Micronesia, although lots of the different people and tribes have their own languages as well in different states and on different islands. And one of the main religions is Christianity.
Is this just a very popular dish on the islands, or is it a festival dish? Because a lot of the time we do sort of celebratory dishes in this format.
So this is one of the most popular dishes, a snack, dessert,
Okay.
'Cause
we're
now-
getting there, we're getting
very useful for sharing with lots of people.
Because you definitely said those kind of like coffee bitter notes, but actually when you taste it, it's just pure sugar.
there. What is it?
I think you're getting almost treacly, palm sugary kind of vibes.
Yeah, coconut palm sugar,
Interesting. It's very delicious.
which may be slightly more traditional than the white sugar that we also have here. So maybe thinking about balancing that throughout the dish.
What would you like us to do with these, Jay?
I mean, they look great as they are. You've got a lovely bunch. I think they might look better if they were grated.
Grated coconut. Grated fresh coconut.
Nope. I'll get to it. I'll get to it.
Ebbers, you're breaking things. Interesting fact for you, Micronesia, one of the smallest nations in the world, with a landmass even smaller than the previous country that we did in our A to Z, Luxembourg.
Now I wonder if you could cheat and make this with something like desiccated coconut that you rehydrate with some coconut water or some coconut milk rather than the fresh stuff if you can't get hold of it. But I also imagine, I don't know, depending on how fresh or fresh coconuts are, whether they are different if they're dried out for several weeks or months in transit between there and here.
I can imagine it's one of those dishes that when you've got incredibly fresh ingredients, because there's so few ingredients, when everything is incredibly fresh, I imagine it changes the vibrancy of the dish.
Do you think that's enough?
Got no idea what we're making, Mike. But yes, I think that's
I
probably
just
enough.
want to eat more of this.
Right, so we've got munching coconut, grated coconut, 2 types of sugar, and more coconut. Lots of coconut. Coconut palm, coconut milk or cream, grated coconut, and banana leaf.
That can't just be a serving suggestion, can it?
I think as a serving suggestion and as crockery,
It would be authentic, but surely not.
steam it in it,
Just
cook it in
steam
it,
it.
bake it in it, and then you impart all the lovely natural
Yeah, it's
oils.
delicious, isn't it?
Because it can often look quite dry and almost pasty, but the moment you put some heat over it, you start to release all of those oils. You can literally
Look
see
at
how
that.
shiny it goes.
So step 1, prepare your taro and coconut. Step number 2, now that you've prepared your taro and coconut, combine them with your other ingredients.
Do you reckon these are like
mash them
meatballs?
together?
Do you reckon they're patties that we individual, or do we just do it as one cake that everyone takes chunks out of?
Yeah. Oh no, he said multiple, didn't he? So do you just do different
Share.
servings, and they're handheld, and you just almost scoop?
Yes.
Or-
but I think they're going to hold. I
Yeah.
think there's going to be enough starch. They're going to hold.
I think they're boiled. Boiled enough to mash, if we are going to mash them.
I think we should. I've got a masher ready.
Okay, great.
And yeah, well, let's try.
I love how this series just throws you off your confidence game every single time.
Because it is an adaptation of some stuff that you know and some stuff you now have to work out by joining dots of missed information. It's all problem solving. Because you know there's a big difference when you boil like potatoes versus like a sweet potato versus a yam or a root like a celeriac. They all behave very differently when you mash them. Oh, it's very dry. I imagine it tastes like it needs a lot of sugar and coconut fat.
It tastes like a very, very, very dry potato, very starchy potato. It's a lovely texture. very well boiled, Ebbers. It's going to mash lovely.
And again here, having been trained in kind of what was, I guess, like traditional French cuisine and our love of our cuisine, that looks like that just needs lashings of dairy now.
Yeah.
So like butter and cream and salt, and it looks like it would be a wonderful, creamy, starchy mash.
Interestingly, and I don't know whether this is authentic, but the fact that you season the water makes a big difference in actually being able to taste it.
Right. I mean, I'm going to keep it rough and ready because we could probably make that smooth, maybe. But I think we're going to have loads of texture from this anyway. So
Yeah.
combined with the coconut, I said 2-to-1. That's about right.
So obviously this part is going to be more about feeling than it is about following a recipe.
I think, Mike, we should just go this. Because I know we could balance that with that, but that's nicer.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Keeping it traditional, boys. I like it.
Tell me when.
I think you're probably going to want 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah. Let's go 2.
Because the coconut is naturally sweet, but it's a very different sort of sweetness to the sugar. And then I reckon half of that tin to start off with, we might need more. But we're going to probably...
I reckon.
Okay.
But actually, that is a really interesting consistency
It holds.
that holds its shape together.
What does it taste like?
And if you've boiled it well enough, it will no longer be toxic.
So I reckon, based on step 3, to shape and serve.
Okay. So maybe there's enough coconut in that, because basically, maybe we've been given this.
As a sauce, a dipping sauce or a sprinkling sauce.
Well, I was going to say, or if that was too dry and we needed something to help bind it, but it doesn't need it.
If it binds,
It does bind, and really well, actually, because of the starchiness. Now, it's obviously still very hot. You can see the steam that's coming off of it. I've added more sugar because it doesn't give me...
Sweet vibe.
It doesn't give me dessert. It gives me sweet potato.
Okay.
Like savoury sweet rather than dessert sweet.
Yeah.
now it can be either. So it can be a dessert, it can be a savoury snack as well. That's why the sugar wasn't always a traditional way of doing it in the past. However, it has now kind of grown into both directions.
What do you think?
Oh, I think that's delicious. That is we should definitely not have used that.
Agreed.
Because the profile of that sugar really does come through. It doesn't just taste sweet. Should we heat it
But I
so
still
we get
think
some of the oil?
Yeah, I still think to your point of...
Yeah. I love the taste of something that's been served in banana leaf.
It's an aroma, like for me it's an aroma.
That's it.
It's just that added little...
It's a something. It's like a bay leaf, but you can taste it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going balls.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Mike, he has already shown these guys a photo of what it should look like.
Yeah.
Was that a pile of little balls? Was that a mountain? Or was it like formed into a cake patty?
So last instruction was form.
Shape and
Shape.
serve.
Shape. So
I am shaping,
they are shapes.
but it could also just be like a ring mould and you just put it all in and shape it into like a flan. I also wonder if it's something that's eaten traditionally hot and or cold, because as it's this warm, so it's still warm enough to be soft and malleable and great to shape, but it's not hot. But I think that's quite a nice texture because it's quite starchy mashed potato-y, which is not something we're used to eating cold.
So I can tell you, in case it helps inform this next part, is that utar is often served plain, but can have a variety of toppings on it.
Now, the toppings could also be just decorative. They could be fresh fruit.
You know that Micronesia has been an independent country since 1979, before which it was called the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, which was administered by the USA on behalf of the UN.
There you go. If they cook like this, I trust them. We've made enough for the whole team. Claggy hands, quick wash, I'm happy with that.
Maybe a little grating of coconut, a bit of sugar for decoration.
Is that what you're...
No, I'm just saying that these are options that are available to you.
Okay.
A selection of toppings. What if we just
do a-
did...
Yeah, do
Yeah.
a... There we go.
I'm on board with that.
Happy?
Uta.
Well, let's get the utar into the sexies and then I'll show you what you should have made. Okay, boys, your challenge was to make utar from Micronesia with just a few hints and clues.
What we didn't ask was whether uta is singular or plural.
Here is what you could have won.
Yes! We got right on the guessing.
Mate, nailed
If in doubt, go with the balls.
That's fantastic.
That's not a rule for life, is it?
I just heard what he said.
Probably one of the most simple that we've done in this series.
And a delicious one. Now, Mike and I already know what this tastes like, but Jay, get involved.
Cheers.
What I love about the fact that they're still warm is that the sugar that we sprinkled on the top has now almost created sort of a melted glaze.
But you can really smell the sugar
That's
coming off
amazing. I'm
the
going to
plate
use
as
that
well.
sugar. Cheers.
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 Absolutely delicious.
That's great.
I don't think I've tried something sweet like that before.
Do you know what? It's just come to me. There is a dessert in Japan that I had that's made from mashed potato, and you continually pound it until it goes kind of gloopy, and then it's sweetened and served. And that is the closest thing I've ever tried, but it's still not as unique as that. That's great.
So some of the toppings you can get as varieties are the sugar, coconut milk as well,
Okay.
over the top, so you can do that kind of thing. You didn't need to use any of the coconut milk in it because the texture I think is good, but that can also help to make it a little bit more fatty, I suppose.
Texture of mashed potato with the crunch of fresh coconut, which we got really good ones, so you can really taste them.
Yeah.
That almost bitter, that delicious bitter sweetness throughout, and then on top, almost like a creme brulee now. Stunning, like absolutely stunning. Really delicious.
I think you did a really great job.
Again, another dish from a country that we didn't even really know much about.
Right.
That's the beauty of this. The question is, do we get to spin again?
Well, comment down below, let us know if you know utar, how close did the boys get? But in the meantime, should we spin for an N? Right, there's some interesting options.
We've got one spin again, one reverse spin, I don't know what difference that makes, and some really interesting places. Should we go?
Let's do it.
Second half of the alphabet, here we go.
Oh,
Oh, it's reverse.
Reverse spin.
oh. We're going to Nepal.
Nepal.
So I think the only Nepalese cuisine we've ever done is momos. But we don't know anything else about Nepalese cuisine, so comment down below, let us know what dish should we be trying to get Ben to cook without him knowing what it is.
It's been a long day. You're walking home and then you get it. The dreaded text.
Don't worry, we've got this. Pow! We're going to take your cooking from 0 to hero, no matter your skill level. First, the exciting bit. Let's get inspired. I've got over 1,000 recipes for every taste. Nice and easy to search and all designed by a chef, me. Now let's plan your weekly menu so you actually look forward to dinner. And don't worry, we'll keep it flexible in case plans change. We'll get all of that into one shopping list and share the ingredients across your meals so you keep costs down and you're not left with wasted food at the end of the week. And now let's get you to enjoy cooking. So chuck on some music or a podcast. That way you can cook and relax at the same time. I'll take you through everything nice and simple, and I'll even throw in when to do a bit of washing up so that you're not left with a messy kitchen at the end. And now for the best bit.
Where did you learn that?
Well, actually,
I'll just read some bits together.
hang on, what are you doing? Just spent all our